Hello and welcome to this HRE podcast. I will be your host, Lad123. My guest here today is PastSpirits, the Duchy of Saxony Duke. So we're going to start with these questions today. The first question that I have for you, Past, is what was your first duchy and how did you find HRE?
Yeah, so my first duchy was actually Brabant, and how I found the H3 was I was just scrolling on my homepage and I saw H3 recommended to me. Didn't think much of it, but I knew on the first day I was going to have a long and exciting journey within the H3.
So the second question, why is it weird to have guards when you just become Duke?
Right, so when I first became Duke and joined into game with the Protect T tag and such, quite a few guardsmen joined me and guarded, and I noted it was quite odd, and it's because it feels very, alone. You go to talk to anyone, and you have to make sure to tell the IGs not to kill them, right? As well, when you become Duke, you can't just go into game normally unless you're on an alt. I tried introducing a friend to the community, and I swear I just had a swarm on me. So that's why it's quite weird to have guardsmen. It's just I'm a normal dude.
Who do you think the best fighter in HRE history?
Greatest fighter. You know, there's been different combat systems over the years. So the main thing is it's depending on the combat system. I mean, for a time it was Forgotten. Forgotten was a great fighter. He beat me many times and beat all the people around me. It's really depending on the time.
Alright. So what is what is your opinion on the Duke before you?
Word search. Word search is a great guy, and I am very grateful to have served under him. He taught me quite a few things and really helped me through my time in Saxony. Not that I needed much help, but the main thing was he was great at guiding. He helped out a lot, and I'm very grateful for his dukehood, as I would probably not be here without him.
Right. How would you be able to help new players that have just joined Saxony?
So, ever since I became Duke, I've been trying to reform our documents and such, especially our events. So, if a new player is to join Saxony, they are going to receive great military training. They're going to learn how to work as a team. They're going to learn how to better themselves in their combat. Solo, if they are to join our great regiment, the Jaeger Corps. So that's what I can say about that.
Alright. Well, why should one join Saxony?
You should join Saxony because there is no duchy with a duke as dedicated as me. There, I am going. You can quote me on this. There is no duke that loves his duchy as much as I do. There is no duke that's willing to work as hard as I am. Daily raids, great activity. Our duchy is going on the up, and it will never stop. I will ensure that. That is why they should join Saxony.
Do you think you can bring Saxony back?
I know I'm going to bring Saxony back.
Do you think you'll be a good Duke and a successful one?
I think through persistence, dedication, and activity, I am going to make Saxony not only the best duchy currently, but the best duchy this community has ever seen.
Um, what is your opinion on the mass discharge in Saxony when the whole Highcon discharged?
Right. So that situation with Nick Boy, Alexa, and Ethan, and Zeph, but so that situation was the cumulative of many previous issues, and when it came to a boiling point, multiple members of the HICOM felt that they were not going to stay without being mistreated. And I understand that's not the case now, but I will say that although I did not like what happened, I understand why they did it, and I'm glad they did not get convicted of any charges and their blacklists were cleared because they are very fine members of this community and I respect them.
Right. Do you think Nick or Ethan deserved Duke?
Hmm. Nick Boy's activity was questionable, and at times it would seem he would only come back when the position of Duke might be a bit more open. However, I will say I greatly admire Nick Boy's dedication. Nick Boy, I believe, had been in the Duchy for 9 months. That man has my respect. He stuck with Saxony. I can comment on his activity, I can comment on his capability, but I think if there's one thing that Nick Boy should be remembered for, it's his persistent dedication to the Duchy.
Right. What is your opinion on the previous HICOM member, Alexa?
Alexa, during my time in the Duchy, Alexa and I had many conversations, and the thing with him is he's a fine gentleman. I cannot really say anything bad about him, but other than this, he was a decent captain, and he has my respect for his dedication.
Right. Did Wordsearch tell you about him retiring, or did he just leave?
Right. So I was in the car. I was just, driving around. When I checked my phone, not while driving, or not while I was driving, I was in the car, but I wasn't driving. So I checked my phone, and I see one of his messages basically saying he might stay as captain if I need help. So I immediately check it because I was quite surprised. It was very sudden, and he says essentially that he's not going to be Duke anymore. It was very sudden, but right when I saw his message, I knew I was going to be the right person for the role, and I was going to do the best I could.
How does it feel to be Duke?
Before I became Duke, I always had an idea in mind of what it would be like, but I have to say, it's nothing like what I thought it would be. Being Duke is an incredible honor, especially of the best duchy ever, Saxony. Though I will say, due to the previous choices of dukes before me, what occurred was there were many things that had to be optimized and organized. So when I became Duke, there was many things that I had to handle on my own. Though with more time, it's getting slowly less and less of an issue uh, in relation to the workload as I'm able to properly delegate to one of our amazing members of the HICOM. So being Duke is an amazing honor, though I will say anyone who would want to become Duke one day, be ready for work and dedication. Also, Imperial Guards, if you're hearing this, you may kill Imperials who are standing on the table.
So the next question. What would be the reason the previous Duke chose you?
So, from the first day Wordsearch joined Saxony, I was aware of what he could do for the duchy. In my opinion, Word Search was not a bad duke, and I really liked his leadership. So, I will say that okay. So after about 2 months, I become commander, and commander is essentially the position that you become duke in once the next duke leaves. However, I will say I took on a lot of the workload. I showed dedication, um, and I simply acted how I would normally act. I treated everyone with kindness. I continue to treat everyone with kindness. I treat everyone with dignity and respect, no matter the rank, commander or Liebig. I believe this is what Word Search chose me for.
Right. So the next question: how long do you expect to stay as Duke?
I am going to stay as Duke for a long time, but I want to achieve one goal. I want 100 Saxons rallied before I leave. I want Saxony to be rallying 100 people. So I'd say I'm going to stick in this community as a Duke for a long while.
Right. So, what duchy were you in before?
Before Saxony, I don't really recall. I think before Saxony. So originally I went. Okay, so the last time I was in Duchy before I joined Saxony again was Saxony. I ranked up to lieutenant, then I left. I came back and became Duke. But I cannot exactly remember what duchy I joined before, as it's been quite a while.
What Highcom rank do you prefer? Is it either captain, commander, or duke?
So, as a captain, you don't have a lot of control over the duchy. It's the lowest Highcom rank. As for commander, commander has more control over the duchy, but at the same time, if something goes wrong, it's on the shoulders of the duke, not you. I will say I prefer duke, but being a duke comes with its own setbacks and things some people would consider bad.
Do you have any comments on the recent demotion of Sehun?
You know, Sehun, I really don't know too much about the guy. I can't exactly comment on someone I don't know anything about. So I will say I hope his demotion was more than justified, and I hope that if he did do something wrong, he redeems himself in one capacity or another.
So, what is the secret of being a duke?
The secret of being a duke. I think the secret of being a duke is caring about the people around you, caring about your duchy, waking up and making sure that your duchy is fine, ensuring activity, ensuring the safety. I think there is no secret to becoming duke. It's simply hard work, dedication, persistence, and communication.
What do you think about the current state of Saxony?
So Saxony was on a bit of a downward spiral before I became duke. I think this was majorly because of a bad public opinion of word search by members of the duchy, despite his good performance as duke. Um, I will say that Saxony, since I've become duke, is only getting better.
Right. So, What are your tips for being a Duke?
Communication is one of the most important things for a Duke. You are a leader. You cannot do everything yourself. Communication and delegation are super important. Without communicating to your high com what you need, things will not be done. Without communicating to your knighthood what you expect, they will not enforce the rules properly. And as for delegation, you are one person. You cannot do everything on your own. And that is a part of the job as Duke. You must delegate properly and evenly to where somebody does not get over encumbered by the workload.
Okay. So, can you tell us your journey from the very start, like when you joined HRE?
Oh God. All right, so 3 years ago, I see this interesting looking game. I look at it, I'm like, the name's kind of weird, Empire Roleplay. I'm not much of a role player, but I'll try it out. So I click on it, I join in, I walk up, I walk down the path. I see oh my God, it must have been like 13 Imperials like sprinting at me. Well, not sprinting, but uh, going towards me. Safe to say I died. But that kind of made me angry, so I got gear on. I grinded for some gear, and I started fighting. What I realized immediately was I was pretty good. I think on my first day, I actually won a 1v8. Mind you, these Imperials were horrible. They were like NPCs. So it's not really much of a feat, but I think that was what kind of hooked me on the game originally.
All right.
So I continued, I think, for a while as an outsider. I I just kept on honing my skill, enjoying the game, right? I think back after quite a while into 2021, I joined Brabant. And I believe back then Brabant was new. It was dominating. OG Brabant was insane. I remember their patrols. But yeah, I don't think I became a HR for a long while after this, as I never really took the game as seriously. But I think when it started getting more near late 2021, I started taking the game actually seriously. I started taking up I actually became a knight. And then going into 2022, I joined Saxony, leave Saxony, join Saxony again. Then I stay until I became Duke.
All right. So that's all the questions for me. If anyone else has any questions, you can just ask them now quickly.
Well, actually, I have some questions for you, Past.
Sure.
Okay, let me find them. Um, hmm. Okay, uh, what um, advice would you give to a person that would like to become a duke in the future?
Stay persistent, man. I think that a lot of people could have become Duke, but they just never stayed in a duchy. So I think for anybody wanting to become Duke, stay in the duchy. Stay in the duchy and stay active.
Okay, I have another question. Uh, is it hard to be a highcom in a duchy? Like, is the job of highcom too hard?
Hmm. I kind of take it upon myself to make sure that my captains and members of my HICOM do not have to stress too much. But I will say, if you are planning on becoming a HICOM, be ready to do your job diligently in the best interest of your duchy.
Okay, and last question from me. What is the hardest task that Duke has to do, in your opinion?
Bear the full responsibility of the duchy. If one of my members acts up, it falls upon me. If a member of my high com insults somebody, it falls upon me. They might get a punishment for that, but it also falls upon the public opinion of the duchy that I lead. So I think the hardest thing for a duke and the largest responsibility is public opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that would be all from us today.
So I actually do. We have some other questions from
Oh,
some other people.
okay.
So out of all the Duchy's helmets, which one is your favorite?
Saxony, of course.
Right. And then also the last one would be, what is the best regiment in Saxony?
The best regiment. So, all of our regiments are very high quality. They're managed very well, and the people within it I have high respect for, as I do with all Saxons. I will say, the duchy or the regiment that's going to kick your ass is the Jaeger Corps. The regiment that's going to make sure you don't kick my ass is the Kriegers, because they're the guards. Yeah, that's about all that for that.
So that's all the questions we have today.
One more question. What is your opinion on Imperial Guards?
Ever since I saw an Imperial Guard, I have had a level of respect for them that's only grown with time. The Imperial Guard are very dedicated and great members of our community. They have my utmost respect because, in my opinion, OOS is quite dreadful, and I personally wouldn't want to do it. So I think that the IG are amazing.
Okay, and that's all. So, thank you guys everyone for watching. Bellad was the one who interviewed PastSpirits, and thank you PastSpirits for being here. It was a nice podcast, and thank you everyone for watching. See ya on the next podcast. That will be
Join
the
Saxony.
yeah, join Saxony. Have a nice day, everyone.